Are you being held hostage by your technology? You're like a coach, consultants, you've got certifications, courses. You don't know how to fix it. Maybe you had a website designer and you don't know how. We're going to talk how to fix it, how to hire the right people, how to find them, how to train them, and the 3 most important hires that you need to make, and all the problems that could happen, the real problems that you don't know about if you don't do this the right way. On this Garlic Marketing Show, I've got Melodie Moore from Business Technologist. Melodie, say hi to that camera.
Hi.
And of course, this is brought to you by videocasestory.com. All right, let's get started.
Are we gonna have some garlic here? Like,
No,
is there
There's
pasta?
the sign. There's this. There's no pasta. Maybe later. That's kind of on the plan down the road. So what Melodie does is, I'll let you describe what you do because it's very needed and very interesting. There's so many businesses. Let's talk about the businesses that need this help because it's technology.
Typically, we're very much in the tech-centric businesses, so people that are running certification programs, CE credits, service-based businesses a lot of the times too. And anytime where you have a high level of customer interaction, where we can say, okay, hey, where can we put people in at the right point versus all of the points? Like we were talking to a client yesterday, they have 2 people employed full-time just to answer phones for like redundant questions like, when's my meeting? And it's like, you shouldn't have 2 people employed for that. What would be great though is to have those 2 people doing high value tasks of following up, like, hey, is there any further support that you need? How can we add value versus taking care of that administrative side?
You know, because I've been through it, right? I've hired website developers, app developers, and not to say they're bad people, but if you hire them the wrong way or you hire the wrong person, you can be held hostage. You can have stuff you don't understand how it works. Mm-hmm. What are some of the problems? Like, when do the problems start to happen with these companies?
I would say, so there's a couple different ways to look at that question. Of typically, we call them cowboys, and sometimes you get rogue Asians, which are another level of cowboy. A cowboy is somebody that you kind of see in a business below $1 million. And they're the person, it's like, hey, Sally's on my team. We need a new way to text message someone. And Sally's going to go and she's going to find that tool. She's going to put it in place. She's like, yeah, I accomplished the goal. I did that thing. And that happens time and time and time again, and that creates tech debt. And then once you get to that $1 million mark and that 2 and 3, you have this just mess of a system. And then Sally's the only one that can understand it. Nobody else can. And then the business owner's scared to change anything because it's like, goodness, like I don't want everything to break. And that's really where it becomes problematic because then the business owner is also looking at their dependence on that team member. It's like, this should be my business, but I'm held hostage by either this company or this technology because I don't know how it runs. And it's really an art, like they're cowboying where they're just kind of figuring things out at that time. So nobody can understand it. So a lot of the times the business will say, or the business owner will say, hey, Sally, I need you to document what it is that you've done. And they'll get frustrated because Sally won't do it. She'll make, I just don't have time. It's too complicated for you to understand. They'll make any number of different excuses for why, but really the underlying truth of it is they can't. They don't know how. Yeah. They really just, they figured out all of these things and the amount of time it would take them to go and lay all of those things out because it's a disaster. It's like a spaghetti mess. So it's like they cannot document that because it's undocumentable.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense because, I mean, I know I've done that before as a business owner. I'm like, hey, there's this new thing. I want to do it. It says it's really easy software. Go figure it out and do it for me.
The sales page says it's so really easy. Anyone can do this. It's going to be great.
Yeah. And then they have this, and then they keep adding softwares on, right? Mm-hmm. Because I've done that too. It's like, oh, all of a sudden I have lead pages in Infusionsoft, and now that's Keep, and then I have, this texting system and this thing, and oh, they all work together-ish. And then
they're kind of like the Spice Girls, though. They're going in different directions.
And so, yeah, is that something that should we be looking? When should we look into fix that? Should I be looking to fix that early on? Because it's interesting. We were at an event yesterday, and you join us later. But Dan Cashel was talking about these different stages, and in business, and to move from one stage to another, it's like you do need different team members, and it's like the person that was brought you to here is not the person that's going to bring you to there, and you as a person need to change too. So, is this a matter when you see someone is this a matter of them hiring better at the beginning, or should they be just testing stuff out, and then when they get to a bigger stage, like when they move from that 1 million to the 2, 3, 5, 4 million, is that when they should be like, okay, it's just fine, I'm going to fix this?
I think it's an awareness of knowing who you're hiring.
Yeah.
What I see, the pattern that I see is that business owners assume that they're going to be able to hire someone that's going to know these systems, but we have to keep in mind, like, what we do with these technology-centric companies, like it's really only like 10 or 20 years old. Like, you'd be hard-pressed to find a developer that would have more than 20 years of experience. Like, even a developer with 20 years experience, you're like, that's like wild at this point in time.
Yeah,
but if you,
hard-pressed to find some that are with 20 years of age.
that too.
Yeah.
And if you compare that out to something like accounting or like legal or electricity, like, these people have had experience. They were trained by somebody else that had done it.
Yes.
And I think with technology, we really don't give enough weight to experience. It's like someone can just go on YouTube and figure it out. And we get that pushback sometimes. Like, no, there is a level of experience of what works with companies that scale. And
it's not just, I want to stop there because it's not, I think this is an important point. It's not experience just using the tool, it's implementing it in a company.
Yes.
Right? That's, yeah. And let's talk about that. Like, what's that difference? Can you give me an example?
So implementing it within a company, it's a matter, so we think of it of...
let's say, just give me a piece of software and where someone want to implement it in a company in the right way.
I think to backtrack a little bit there's an underlying mindset that needs to be with technology to begin with. And this is one of my big challenges as I was working with more and more companies. As I started my company, I thought, once I start working with like $2-3 million companies, like, they're going to have this stuff figured out. Yeah. And I'm going to go into them and it's going to be beautiful. But it was just messier. And what I realized with talking with other colleagues and everything, that people would say, Melodie, there's no right way to do technology. Like, I can implement, so to use your example, I can implement like Keep, we work with HubSpot, we work with Go High Level, and it's like, well, Melodie, like, every business is different. There's no right way to do this, Melodie. I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. Somebody's filling out a form and half the time they're not getting their emails correctly because they misspelled it or something. And this is just acceptable to you, but there's no right way to do technology. I was like, I really challenge that.
So you're missing leads.
You're missing leads. And they're like, well, that's just it. That's just the way the technology works, Melodie. There's no right way. And I was like, I really challenge that.
Yeah.
I believe that there are 3 fundamental principles that you need to have as guiding ways for how you implement technology. And this allows you to have that framework to put to your team so that as they're implementing a CRM and stuff, they're making the right choices. And that's really what it comes down to as I've grown my team, they would do stuff for clients and be like, that's wrong. Because I do believe there's a right and a wrong. And I was like, wow, what do I know or what do I keep in mind as I'm thinking about this that they're not? And it came down to 3 different principles of dependability, adaptability, and an exceptional user experience. And what I've found is if we are always using those 3 guiding principles for what tools that we use, it makes the tool clearer and it makes us understand, okay, how can we put proactive checks in place in order to make this work for a company at scale? So dependability, it should work consistently, which boggles my mind how many technology companies are just like, oh yeah, sometimes when you click that button, it doesn't work. I was like, isn't that a problem? They're like, no, that's the devs just said that's just the way it is. And I was like, that seems like a problem to me.
Yeah. If you have a button that doesn't work on your website, like, yeah.
Sometimes it just fails. It's like, so when I start my car, I kind of want it to start every time I turn it on.
Yeah.
Not just necessarily like when the sun is shining.
Or like my lights, right? It's like, sometimes your lights aren't going to work at night. But I mean, that comes down to, when a car is built, if it's built all, with systems in place and they know how everything's connected and they test everything, and these people have built essentially the complexity of a car with like some people that don't know how to do it over time. It's like, imagine building a car over 3 years and like
with different people
in different parts
and new tools coming out almost every week.
Yeah.
So with technology, we have the challenge that our targets are constantly moving.
Yeah.
Of like, at Business Tech Ninjas, we are always looking for like, okay, what's the best tool for the job? And because we're always going to have some level of comfort with the tools that we have, but it's like, can we find a better tool? Can we find a better tool? Always pushing ourselves. And there's always this moving target for how can we remain at pace with that? Because if you have the right tool, is magic. Like the right tool makes it so that a business runs smoothly and cleanly. The wrong tool, it's like pulling a cart with one wheel that isn't even there sometimes.
So give me an example of a company like this type of company that you worked with in the past. We don't have to name them, but what was going on, like that was being held hostage by someone who probably shouldn't have, a developer or whatever, and how did you help them escape?
So so there's a company that they run a membership program. So it's a company that has an annual membership for people who produce video content. And the challenge with them is that they had people in there that had created these like siloed systems where nothing really ever talked to each other. And it was really difficult to find out what was working and what wasn't working within the company too, because all of these systems were siloed. So the first thing that we do is we look at what actually needs to happen here. And so I have a 3-step process where it's like get present, look back, and then look forward. So it's like the first one is like, what needs to happen here, and then look back and like how are all the different ways that it was happening before. So one of the first things that we usually address with a company is money, because cash is the lifeblood of any business. So for them, it was getting their renewal fees. They hadn't connected renewal fees for over 6 months, 8 months or so. And it was like nobody could keep track of who had renewed and who hadn't. They had a spreadsheet, but so-and-so was handling it, but then so-and-so was also in here, and nobody really had any idea about what was happening with these different people. And then not only that, but like...
That's everything in a business.
It is. And beyond that, it's like, well, now you want to update your credit card? Well, you could email us your credit card, or you can call us. And I was like... Have you heard of PCI compliance? Because it's a big deal.
So just for so if you don't know what PCI compliance, you need to. So
what's basically like you have to protect people's credit card data.
Yeah.
So it's like you cannot share credit card data in plain text over email.
Or you can't keep it in a file somewhere.
No, or at least you shouldn't.
It has to be locked. If it's written down, so you can't just keep it on your computer. And for every instance, you get fined like $50,000 or something like that. So for like every credit card number, per
wild.
credit card number, it's like you can get fined $50,000. So if you have 1,000 credit card numbers, it's 1,000 times.
It's a big risk.
Yeah. That's like I think more than $50,000.
It's a couple Louis Vuittons, that's for sure.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. Everything's in Louis Vuittons.
Louis Vuittons and I don't know what other currency I'd want to look at. Well,
Birkin bags.
Birkin bags. I don't like the Birkin bags though. Anyways,
oh my God.
Side note.
Did you see the headphones last night?
Oh no, I didn't get to try them though. But it'd actually only be like 2 pairs of those headphones.
Yes, it'd be 2 pairs. We were at an event last night and we met the co-founder of Beats by Dre, and he has a new $27,000 headphone come out. I gotta try it, and if you ask me nicely, I'll show you a picture of it.
I'd be concerned because like I get anxious about losing my AirPods.
Yeah,
I'm like I don't think.
No, you want to take this. Well, he made them so they lay flat, and then
is it like headphones, not like
headphones?
Things? Oh no, I'm not into it.
They're really pretty, and they make them so you match your yacht or.
I mean, all right. Well, step 1, I'm gonna need a yacht,
or your commercial plane, your private plane,
jet.
Your private jet. Sorry. All right. So, the PCI compliance piece, they were obviously breaking PCI compliance. We won't say who they are. Weren't renewing, so that. I mean, you're talking about like complete destruction of the business because someone wasn't pushing the right button, right?
And it's not generally one person. And I think something to keep in mind is that people aren't doing this because they are intentionally trying to do it. It's that they literally just don't know how. They don't know how to tackle this problem.
And especially in business.
And then you've got, it's just like so many competing problems that are happening. So you've got the business owner who's like, I don't have any revenue coming in and I'm doing whatever I can to bring in whatever revenue I can to keep this ship afloat. I need you guys to handle this problem over here. And then you've got the team over here like, we don't know how to handle this and we don't know how to tell you that we don't know how to handle it. So we're going to keep trying to hide the fact we don't know how to handle it.
So we'll lose our jobs.
Because we'll lose our jobs. And then you have just this like circle that just keeps running and running and running and the problem just gets worse.
Yeah. And not to throw the software companies on a bus, because they have to sell, like it's super easy, but that's part of the problem, isn't it?
Well, I mean, okay, so let's say you go to a fitness coach and you're like, I want to lose 20 pounds. Like, all right, so the real work involved with this is going to be you're going to have to give up all your favorite foods. You're going to have to work out all these different times. Like, who's going to buy that? Like, the software companies do have a vested interest that they need to sell you a dream.
Yeah.
But you, as a consumer, need to be aware of they're selling you a dream.
Yeah. No.
Not an actuality of like what it is. And one of my favorite things to do, like, so when we're always, my favorite part of my job is testing technologies. And so we were looking at redoing our support tool of like trying to find better options for support tools. So I'll go download and set up probably about 5 or 6 of them and compare out like, okay, which ones of these are good and bad, because the sales pages lie. And not because, and sales people do too, like never trust a sales guy.
Yeah.
Or girl, or they, them.
Yeah, they're incentivized to have you pay. That's it.
Be clear, and we learned this lesson because we had a client that was unhappy with their support tool, and we moved to a support tool which I won't name because, whatever, but we ended up moving there too. And their support team, like their salespeople told it can do all of these wonderful things. It's going to give me a back rub. It's going to make me dinner, candlelit, everything. I was like, this is going to be amazing.
What's one of the things that you really, because I'm guessing they didn't tell you back rub, because if they did, then you should not have bought it. But what's one of the things that you wanted it to do?
So with the support tool that we wanted to use was that it would have like an AI chat functionality for support. And it's a membership site that this was going to be used on. And what they failed to mention is that it doesn't work on mobile.
Oh.
So that's a pretty big oversight so it's like the box will show up on desktop, but it won't show up for mobile.
Which most people are using membership sites.
So it made it so that specific feature was just totally useless. And not only that, but that particular tool, and I think that's something you always have to gauge is with technology before you invest, because especially if you're doing like something that's a foundational tool that you're using, it's a marriage and it's a relationship.
Yeah.
So you really want to be asking, okay, what's my investment? Are we going to be dating for a year, 6 months, 3 years before we get married, where you're actually fully like giving me the value, or is this like a couple weeks? And you just want to know going into it, because sometimes like with a support tool, when you're working with businesses at scale, it's like a 3-month period to shift over to that, and you're still learning. So you want to understand what the value of that is. And what we learned from this transition process is take the time to understand what you actually need the tool to do. Like, think of your technology as like you're hiring this tool to do a job.
Oh, yeah.
If it's doing its job, it's going to do this, this, and this. Don't get wrapped up in and then it can send text messages, and it's an all-in-one tool, and it can do this. Because what happens is you get so wrapped up in all the wonderful things it can do. It's like, well, we need to be able to respond to emails and be able to track metrics.
See if the email was open and make sure it's actually being open and being sent, and and they can read it and it looks pretty. And
we fall into the illusion of progress of all the wonderful things that we can do with it. And then we get away from that, and that's how we end up stressed out with more things on our to-do list than we do actual results from those things.
So coming back to, I know it's been a few minutes, but the company that we were talking about.
All sorts of tangents now.
The company that we were talking about that was not having renewals, what was going on? And how did you uncover it? How did you fix it?
So part of their issue, and we see this a lot, because my specific specialty is going into companies with spaghetti messes where you've had either cowboys or rogue agents, or sometimes a combination of both. These are people that just...
And you're saying rogue agents, not rogue Asians.
Agents, yes. not Asians.
We're not getting racist here.
They may or may not be Asian. I don't know.
It's agents.
Agents. So a cowboy will follow some level of logic with what they're doing. A rogue agent, no logic whatsoever.
Yeah.
You're like, because we work in plugin development, and they'll have like pieces of code in like random other places, and I was like, did they just go, let's put this code here? It's like, what? Like, how? So we just have different scales of that, but they're the people that figure it out. And our specialty is going in and knowing the technology and the tools and the business well enough to be able to say, okay, what's actually happening here, and then what's supposed to be happening. Because when you have these rogue agents and cowboys, all they have the ability to do is add things on. So you add more, add more, add more, add more, add more. They don't understand the business and the strategy and the technology strategy enough to be like, no, we need to get rid of this. We need to get rid of this. We need to get rid of this. And that's where you get stability, is clearing out that clutter. And part of what you need to do to manage your technology well is to constantly be in this phase of an expansion and a contraction, where let's try new things, let's try this tool, but then you need to be able to contract down and like, that's not working, let's get rid of that. And that's what companies miss, is they just keep adding more and more and more. And us as a society, that's typically what we'll do. It's easier to add more, it's easier to add more noise than it is to get clear on like what's actually valuable here.
Love that. That's a really good point. Because I know like everyone's like, oh, this technology is going to be my solution instead of getting rid of stuff is actually my solution. I mean, that's the definition of my garage.
Just in my junk drawer too.
This company, what was happening?
What was happening is that they were just constantly putting out fires. Of, someone might call in and try to get their dues, and they'd go through the list and they'd find one person and someone would follow up with them. And it was just like very haphazard. But
what happened to cause that?
What happened to cause that is nobody took the time to really understand what the overall flow should be for this renewal system. And you've got to think about that you've got to think about this in a holistic way of how do they first enter as new members, and then once they're new members, what happens like yearly to get them to renew, and then when they're renewing, they either renew successfully, maybe they canceled at some point in time, or they had a failure. So you need to create pathways for all three of those different options. And then to be able to have the technology in such a way where you need to be able to see where people are sitting, and then be able to take either manual action or automated action to say, okay, what now needs to happen to this person? And my bias is automated action as much as possible, and people where it makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think people, like, I don't want to get too much in that debate, but I think people go to automate stuff they shouldn't instead of automating the stuff that should be automated. It's like, yes. I want to automate all my follow-up with my $100,000 potential client. I'm like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be calling and talking to them. But if someone wants to renew their bill or be reminded of paying their bill, and that should be 100% automated.
Yeah.
Right?
It's funny how much people confuse those two as well. They'll want to, so we had the one client that one day they will let me put an automated booking system in place. I know, it's shocking. So we're on the call with them, and they have a sales process, and they have they have a legal arm to their business. And somebody fills out a form which says like, we're interested in using your company for some legal business. So they go in there, and then they have field forms which will be like, I'm available at this time at 9 a.m., this time at 6 p.m., and this time at there. Yeah. And then once that goes to an admin person who then looks at those times.
Oh my God.
And then looks through the different lawyers' calendars and then says, okay, who can do this? Then goes back to the client and says, okay, well, this time, no, that slots doesn't work for me anymore. It takes about a week to book a call.
And that you're losing, I mean, that's just, people expect stuff in 10 minutes.
Yes. And so I pushed back and I was like, so we've got this great tool. It's called a booking system.
Yeah.
And when they go on, you can get them to fill out their information, like what are you looking for? Because they work with companies that are looking to sell their practice or create wills. There's like 3 different services. And he's like, well, there's 3 different services that they use. And it's like, yeah, we can create a form.
We can figure that out. And they press the button.
Yeah, they select which service they're interested in. And it can also be conditional, which says more information about that specific service. And then it would only book on that lawyer's calendar too. Because that was one of the other concerns, is like, well, it has to be on Jim's calendar. Like, yeah, no problem. And I was like, and then it can book with them, they can get the reminders, you can get follow-ups, and that person that's currently spending a week going back and forth with them about booking that call can now be going onto their websites or asking like good questions, so that when that lawyer goes on that call, they're like, they've got all of their ducks in a row. It's like, hey, I see that you've got partners based on your about page and this, that, and the other. Like, and do it like, that's high value task work versus low value task work, which should be automated.
Yeah.
And I hope one day I will be able to field this pushback better, but the business owner came back and was just like, I think we're really going to lose the personal touch with this. And I was like,
that's not the personal touch.
I don't think it's the personal touch here. I was like,
that's that irritating touch.
That's like,
someone wants to be booked right now, not back and forth.
Yeah, and like my calendar changes. Like I refuse to do business with companies that don't have a booking calendar because I'm busy, and it's like I do not have, like I have a personal assistant too, but I also don't want to pay her to go back and forth and be booking things. It's like, this time works for me. This time works for you.
Boom,
Great.
done. And like we can see it right now, and you can even match it too with people's calendars. Like if they can put in their calendar, it'll automatically match it.
There's many booking tools now. Like Google's got a free one, Calendly's free. Like you don't even have to pay for them. Like I really like Schedule Once right now, which is a more robust tool because we have more complexity with it. But there's tons of free booking tools out there right now too.
Well, even for, I mean, think about it. Calendly's $25 a month.
It's not breaking the bank.
Yeah, and
1 hour of work.
1 hour of work, yeah, and like you spend an hour per appointment, and then the loss. So like you don't even factor in it, but
it's also just a better experience for the customer. And I think there's something to be said to be mindful of the time you're taking from your customer, because time is our new currency.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And if it's taking them an hour and a half to go back and forth with you to book a call, like you're not being considerate of their time and their energy that they're putting into wanting to do business with you.
So, this is the longest case story ever. What happened?
I go on tangents. I can't help
so the
myself.
company that was getting the renewals, not getting the renewals. How long did it take you to fix it? And what was the real problem? What was the underlying issue that caused
the underlying issue was a lack of somebody actually tackling the issue, of like lack of somebody actually taking a strategic approach to doing this. It was very much a task-oriented type idea, type mindset of like, well, we just need this thing, and things just keep getting added on and adding on and adding on. But no one was thinking it from a technical strategy level of both bridging the gap between the business goals and then the technology. We call this person a technologist. And they're the ones that are kind of looking at this overall flow and understanding, okay, what needs to actually happen here from a business perspective and from a technology perspective.
Yep.
And there's an element of, with technology, as I mentioned before, it's always a moving target. Like their system for renewals wasn't always this complex. It just like more things got added on, more things got added on. And there really wasn't ownership of who owns this. And like their internal team members, we internally talk a lot about the technical ability of what's somebody tech ability of the internal team members were at a low technical ability where they can do it on we call them operators, where they'll go in and they'll use something that's set up, but they're not the ones that are going to be able to understand what else could be done there or how you can make it better or stronger. They operate. They're the ones that are doing it consistently. From there, a technician should be there that's looking at, okay, this isn't quite working right. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna do this a little bit better. I'm gonna change up this. Like that has a higher technical ability. And then we have our technologist who's looking at, okay, what do we need to get rid of here? What's the strategy behind this? And you really do need those 3 layers of people. And I think as a business owner, they go in there and they expect that people are just gonna get this.
Yeah.
And that they're gonna be able to go on Upwork or YouTube or wherever else, and like somebody's just gonna get this and read their mind, even though they don't really know what they want.
I've worked with so many business owners that think because they're so close that they think their business is so obvious, and like everyone should just know this. Everyone should just understand my cash flow. Mm-hmm. And I've worked in restaurants where it's like everyone should just understand cash flow and costs, and then I'm like, these are waiters, right? And you can't just expect them to understand that. You've got to educate them, and you have to have someone in charge, a manager who's in charge of it. And I think this technologist idea is so important if you have a larger company. And so I want to get into that because who should, let's say, for example, I have a $4 million company that has, I'm selling courses, I'm selling certifications, and what's usually else that they sell in there?
Courses, certifications. They probably have a live event too.
And a live event. So there's a lot of complexity because there's event management, and I know there's beautiful software sales pages that say we handle everything, but that never.
They all do.
They all say that. It doesn't happen.
No,
it's not real.
If you are an all-in-one software, you do a lot of things mediocrely.
Yeah, no, and so if you have a $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 events, $100,000 to $300,000 membership, certification, and mastermind, spending a good amount on 10% on fixing that is important. So I have those things. My business has grown. I'm at the point now things have to change. I feel like I'm being held hostage by people in each one of them because I have no idea. I don't have any understanding. It would take me weeks, and I'd stop making cash flow. Of course, I can call you up, and you can take a look at it. Let's say I want to do it myself. Who would I need to hire in what order? Who are the top 3 people?
Top 3 people, I think one, you want to come at it from a strategy level of like, what do you need to get rid of? Like, what tools are causing you the most amount of problems? So I would say some level of a consultant that would come in, and you really need an outside perspective from this of what is actually needed with this. Someone that has enough knowledge of your business to kind of understand what's actually important, because they're in that messiness. And when you're in that mess, like I have outside people that come into my own business too, because I'm too close to it.
Yeah, of course.
And so they come in and like, what actually needs to happen here? So the first step is getting present with what's actually needed and what's really causing problems within that. Because there's always just so much to do, but you need to prioritize out. Because if you have no priorities, then you end up spinning your wheels all the time. So the first step would be hiring a consultant to say, what is actually essential here? What's actually happening? Not what we think is happening. And what maybe team members are maybe skirting under the rug that they don't want you to know about.
100%. I mean, everyone, like, I know it's usually 2 years after someone's been for a while that I'm like, oh, frick, I can't believe that. Like, you find those things, right?
And I'd like to give them the benefit. I don't think people are intentionally doing it.
No.
I just think that like they just don't know what they don't know.
Well, I think some people are like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. And I've had that happen too, where I know people left because they're like, I
don't want to do that.
There's like such a pile under the rug that everyone's stepping around it. And like, yeah, I'm going to go find another job. So you've hired this consultant. And, what should I look for in that consultant?
Consultants should have a good understanding of multiple different technologies. So not necessarily an expert in every one of them, like they could be an expert, have a preference. They should also be upfront with their preferences for tools, because you have to understand that, like, so for instance, there's a couple tools we really like right now that my team and I are just really comfortable with. We're always looking for other tools, but I'm still going to have a bias. So you should know what their biases are, because they will probably steer you, but they need to be able to, what you want to be looking for is you need to be able to see that they have 3 options for you and why they would recommend each one of them, and potentially why you might want to go against their recommendation. If somebody's only giving you one option, they probably only know that option. So I think that's a really good yellow flag just to look at. There are instances where I'm like, this is the only tool, but here's why.
Yeah.
They should be able to justify that. And I think one of the really important things is to look out for gaslighting. If they can't explain out their logic and reasoning, it's probably because they don't have any.
Or if they're not clear on it, then it's like, if you can't explain, I think it's attributed to Einstein. There's lots of attributed to Einstein, so I'm just going to attribute to Einstein. It might be him, Abraham Lincoln, or Jesus.
Maybe all 3.
Maybe all 3. But it's like, if you can't explain it to a 10-year-old, then you don't really understand it.
And we talk about this a lot internally, just how to communicate effectively. I don't think this is just in technology. I think this is generalized.
Yeah.
Communicating effectively. And they might be able to explain it. It's a lot of work to take the time to be able to explain to someone that does not understand something or understand that context and nuance, what they need to know about making this decision. It's not easy work. It's heavy thinking work. And a lot of people just don't take the time to do that.
So you've got a consultant. We found one. We hire him.
Most amazing consultant in your entire life.
Yeah. So who would be my next 2 hires?
The next person would be someone that you want to understand what is the job that you now need these tools to use. Now that you've kind of looked at it, you're like, well, these are the really important things. So you need to have that assessment from that consultant of whether these are the right tools or not, or whether you want to switch something out. So once you have that, then you want to find the technician that's familiar with that particular tool that can actually go there and implement it. Now, the really important thing that you want in this person is that they are not a task or an order taker. So I need you to create me a form. It needs to do this, this, and this. I want to use this plugin for this form tool. And an order taker will go and be like, okay, I implemented that tool. And I'm like, okay, well, does it do this, this, and this? Oh no, the tool that you told me to use doesn't do those things. I'm like, but it needs to do those things.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you told me to use that tool. I'm like, yes, because that's what we thought that tool could do.
Yeah.
And a good technician will come back and they'll go through, and at BTN we have a 4-step thinking process to get people into this mindset of thinking through their stuff. Of if you find out as you're implementing it that it's not going to do that thing, we need to course correct.
Yep.
Again, that's the challenge of technology. We've got moving targets. The sales page said it could do this thing. We went in on a surface level and said it could do this thing, but when we actually went in to actually do that thing, turns out that's in the development process, or it doesn't have this one little thing that you would never know to ask about until you actually got into actually doing it. So a good technician will be able to communicate that effectively and say, I found this other plugin that will do that. I now want to use that instead.
And that's a different skill set. Like people, I think they don't realize, because I've been through this with like developers, where it's like they'll just do what you say, and you're like, this isn't what I meant.
Like, well, you didn't.
Yeah,
if you were a better leader, you would have told me exactly what you wanted, and I would have done those things.
Yeah.
If I told you exactly what to do step by step, I wouldn't hire you because I'd just be doing it myself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yeah, and it's like they have to know where the buttons are, and also know, hey, that button's not there. Let's come up with an alternative. And so you're hiring, and you're calling this a technician, right? So a technician is someone who has thought behind them, not just an order taker.
Yes.
And I think it's a subtle but very important difference. And I will talk about hiring that person in a second. But give me a range. Can you give me just right now, it's 2025, a range of how much a good technician would cost?
A good technician, you're probably looking at, I would say somebody that can really figure it out, at least probably about $35, $45 an hour.
As an employee?
As an employee, I would say. And
so
that's
it's like cost $50, $55 an hour.
And the challenge, though, is a good technician's probably like someone that has learned this on their own, has probably worked as a cowboy in a business for a while and is tired of being an employee.
Yeah.
And now they're going to start their own business. So now you're probably looking at $100, $150 an hour.
So you're finding at least $100, $150. I know, like in some of these things, like a good Infusionsoft or Keep technician now is like $250, $300 an hour. And there's a matter of hiring them, vetting them.
Well, here's the other thing. A lot of bad technicians out there will still charge that amount of money.
Yeah,
and you don't know what it is.
Yeah, you don't know until you're.
Or sometimes more too.
Yeah, or if you have them as an employee, you have to hire them, train them, onboard them. It's 2 months before you figure out they suck. Then you have to go through the I'm firing you, and you don't know what
they will have all sorts of reasons for why they didn't think that thing through. If only you told them. If only you did this. And it's, you want to be kind and empathetic to people, but there's a certain point. It's like, no, I just don't think you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, because I know I've hired some people, like, you know, that I'm proficient in the tool, and I'm like, I want the person to do this, and even tested them, and it's a month, and I'm like, you did all this stuff wrong. And I'm technologically adept, so I can go in.
And then you have to go back and fix that.
Fix it. And it's like, I know I'm dealing with that like it's 4 months later. It just happened to me. So we've got the technician. You know, on average, you're going to spend probably overseas maybe even $75K a year.
Yeah.
And then the lag time. And I think I'm talking about this because it took me a long time to realize that it's not just hiring the person for 3 months. It's the month and a half, 2 months to hire them, and the month to unhire them, plus fixing all their mistakes. And now you've got 6 months of your life and your business being held hostage possibly. So, but we want to hire a good technician, which we'll hire in a second. We'll talk about in a second. And then who's the third person I'd hire?
The operator. So the thing with the technicians is they like new and different problems all the time.
Yeah.
They're not the people that are, so it's like once you have that system working, somebody's got to go and improve it. I love Kaizen 1% better.
Yeah.
So a good system is not a one and done, never going to look at again. A good system, we want it to be adaptable, we want it to be dependable. So we should always be looking at it on a consistent basis to, okay, this needs to be fixed, just needs to be a little bit better. And an operator is the person that has the patience to go in and do that. So the skill set of an operator is really, they're not the ones that are able to step back and kind of figure things out, but they're the ones that are going to show up every day at 9 a.m. and they're going to make sure this is this, and they're going to be like, this is not like this, and this is a problem. And they're going to have that ability just to stay on top of it, and then the patience to do that. Your technician, they like new problems. They're going to get bored, and they're not going to do the consistent checks and processes to make sure those systems are working. You do not want an operator in a technician's role, and you don't want a technician in an operator role, because they're going to fail. But if you have the right operator in an operator role and the right technician in a technician role, it's magic. Because they support each other.
Yeah.
And they work together. So
I love that.
The operator is like, this thing isn't working like what I expected. And the technician's like, oh, new problem. Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make this. Can you make sure this is happening consistently going forward? It's like, operator's like, yes. Clarity on what I need to do every day. Amazing. And it's a beautiful relationship. And then you have the technologist at the top of that of being like, hey, operator, you keep getting the same email over and over again. Technician, you need to figure out a way that this problem doesn't happen anymore overall. So they're kind of like that strategic oversight on both of those different options. And because you've got so many people working within the system has to make sense to 3 people at least, which means you're never going to be held hostage by any one person.
But that's a great methodology. I love that because because that would have saved me probably millions of dollars.
Sorry, we didn't meet.
Yeah, I know. Well, because you have developers. Back in the WordPress days, you'd have developers that thought they were designers, and designers that thought they were copywriters. Yeah. And they're 3 different people. And if you can get someone that does all 3 of those things, they usually own a business.
Well, and they could probably do 3 things on a surface level to kind of be able to point things out. But you can't really be an expert in multiple different methodologies. Just like you just don't have the mind. Like our brains can only take in so much information.
Well, and also it's a thought process. And if you're thinking as a developer, you're not thinking as a copywriter.
No.
And most designers are like, this is really pretty. I'm like, but it doesn't say anything. I lean towards the copy person, right? And like, if you see my designs, it's horrible. I'm not allowed to touch anything. And like, I know enough about development to break the code, but the copywriting, and so to your point, and then having someone who's an overall strategist that can talk to all 3 of them, but knows interpreting it for the business. Makes complete sense. But now you're talking a decent expense, expense to hire this team. So I'm going to find these people in that order. What is your hiring process to hire these great tech people?
I mean, this has been over the course of 7 years of refining this out. There's a great book I read on top grading and several others about how to hire the right people. So the first step is a job posting. And in the job posting, I think the job posting is really important to not, hiring is a form of marketing within itself.
100%. Yeah, it's amazing to me people don't understand that. They're like, here's a list of things. I'm like, no, you need to write a letter to that person that you want to hire.
You want to think about who's your target customer, target employee, of like, what does this person care about? What do they want? What are they looking for in this role? And you want to write out what their life would be like in this beautiful place of when they work for this company. And then for us, when people apply, we ask a lot of questions, about 6 questions, I want to say. And what I'm looking for is a humanness, because I can't work with somebody that's not coachable and it's not showing up as an actual person. If somebody's just showing up just to check boxes, we're not a checking box kind of company. We need you to think. We need you to be a human being and use your creative potential. So when they're completing those questions, I'm looking for some vulnerability of them actually sharing where they're at in their journey, what they're looking for, what their challenges have been. I'm looking for some humanness. And underlined to that, I'm looking for them to follow instructions.
Yes, that's amazing. People don't.
And it's frustrating.
But you can weed them out really fast.
So we get on average about 1,000 applicants every month. And of those 1,000, about 500 won't even complete the questions. And sometimes I find it really funny. They'll write, "You're not going to read these anyways." And I'm always a little tongue-in-cheek, I kind of want to comment back and be like, we do. Yeah. We do go through them, trust me. Yeah. But I'm I don't want to fight, whatever.
Yeah, it's if you're going to be that much of a jackass.
Yeah, it's you are not somebody, because I love Seth Godin's, I don't know if I want to work with you until I work with you. And for me, I want to work with great people, and I'm really proud of the culture that we have within our company, because when team members feel supported, they do their best work. But anyways, side note for another thing. So that's our step 1. Step 2 is somebody will go through and review that, and we're just looking.
It's step 1 and a little bit more, because you're weeding them out too.
True. So we go through and just are looking for some level of a response on that point, and some level of logic. And then from that point, they get another form that they have to fill out, which is questions where I want to see that they can go online and solve problems themselves. So we give some generic questions where they can go online to Google and they can research how to do something. I'm looking for in those responses how they communicate that thing. Do they find the right answer, or are they asking the right question? What's their thought process and logic? Because some people are just totally illogical. It boggles my mind. And then the last part of that is that they have to record a video. And this is really helpful because you can see a lot about a person in a recorded video. And we're a technology company. We're completely remote. They need to be comfortable on video.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind how many people look like they're in a hostage situation when they're recording this video. They're in a closet. There's stuff everywhere. It's do you need help. It's like, is this job video really a call for help that you're being held against your will?
Like, I'm applying for a job. I still want my dinner.
Yeah. And you know, I'm looking, well, and again, like we're looking for them following directions throughout this entire process. So one of the things is the video should be between 3 and 5 minutes. People submit 10-minute videos. I'm like, nope, done. And it's like right away, because it's like if they're going to be on their best behavior in the hiring process. If they're already overlooking details like this, it's like they're just going to make
dating,
their life harder.
It's
totally.
It's like, yeah, because if that first 3 dates isn't awesome, it's not going to get better.
No.
They don't improve, right?
No. And I think sometimes as business owners, you can be like, well, just getting somebody in that seat's going to be better. And it's like, no.
Especially tech.
Oh,
I mean, because it caused all the problems that we just talked about.
I feel like I've made so many mistakes hiring, and I'm grateful to all. I think there was a leadership option there too, of like some of that was I didn't know who I needed to be in order to be able to be the leader that could support those team members too. Anyways, side note. So that's step 2. So they go through, they complete those questions, they submit a video, and if they make it through that one, then they do an interview with my hiring manager. And then once the video interview with the hiring manager, then depending on I do approve every single hire within the company because we're still kind of small and we're growing, and I really need people that really understand what we're trying to do with making technology easy and providing a really cool workplace where we can all grow and thrive as people as well. So I need people that really believe in that. So it's like I do like to interview them. And then the last step is we do a 15-hour trial. And this is where we essentially onboard them into the company. And we're a technology-centric company, so they go through this onboarding process. And what I'm looking for, again, down to the Seth Godin thing of like, I don't know if I want to work with you until I work with you. Yeah. So we start, like we give them some training, they're on team calls, they can see the culture, and then we give them some actual work, which is just a low-skilled level work of like, hey, copy this email content from this spreadsheet to this campaign. Yeah. And again, like a lot of people mess that up. Like there'll be a subject line and they'll forget to put the subject line in there. And the really, really fascinating thing when you get to this stage is what do they do when you give them feedback?
Oh, yeah.
How do they handle that? Do they grow from that or do they shrink from that? Somebody that's not coachable will shrink from it and they'll make it your fault.
Yep.
You didn't tell me that the subject line needed to be put from the content into this. And I was like, okay, so let me help me follow this logic. Yeah. Your job and outcome here is to input email content into this builder. And you didn't think that one of the requirements would be that the subject line that's clearly listed out there should also be in that.
Yeah.
And they're like, yes. It's like, okay, so you're just doubling down on this. I can appreciate making mistakes. What I can't appreciate is digging your heels in and not looking back, and
you need that growth.
You need that growth because, like, again, one of the underlying issues with technology right now is people are unskilled.
Yeah.
They are unskilled, and business owners are hiring unskilled people thinking that they're skilled.
Even if they're skilled in technology, they might not be skilled in the business side of it, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and so you're uncovering that because you need them to be adaptable and coachable. I mean, that's just number one. I mean, that's the new skill set. Mm-hmm. So how do you find out, what types of questions do you find out to make sure that they understand, because you're doing the cut and paste thing, whatever, to make sure they understand the business side of it and how to integrate the business?
So the business side of it doesn't come in so much. From a business side of what I need them to understand on this level is how people collect money, what happens when they collect money, and they can kind of understand, businesses collect money and that's how they run, and once they collect the money, the thing that they bought needs to be delivered. Mm-hmm. And I know that seems very simplistic, but people that are first coming in that are very green don't think about it. So it's I need them to understand, this is where people check out, this is how people get this thing delivered, and you need to understand the nuance of that. Yeah. So what we have them do when they're being onboarded to a client is you're going to go in and test all the client's systems. So anytime when a new team member gets assigned out to a new client, they go through and test all their systems, which is great because we're constantly testing a new client's systems. Yeah. And one of my pet peeves is a lot of the times people just don't test forms or go through a process. So it's we have a new person coming in and they're looking at it from an outside perspective, and then they understand the flow of what's supposed to happen. But it really does come down to a logic of, and we talk about user testing, you are sitting in the seat of this person that's paying for services from this thing. So I need to get them into that mindset. And that's really that perception of what the business is. And if I can get them thinking about that, so much of everything else becomes a lot easier.
I love that. I love that. So, and then they go through the 15 hours, and then now they succeed, they're on full time. And how do you keep the people?
So what I've realized is a lot of what has made me successful personally is the amount of time and effort I've invested in my own personal development. I call this self-leadership. So everybody wants to be a leader. It's so fun to be a scientific. Leaders eat last. There's so much beautiful stuff about leadership. And talking with friends and people I had this manager and the manager's shit, and the more I ask questions about it, that manager doesn't have any level of self-leadership.
Yeah.
They're not looking at how they're managing themselves, their emotions, or what they're putting out into the world.
Yeah.
And so self-leadership is foundational to being a good leader. And what I've found is that by cultivating my own self-leadership is what has enabled me to be who I am today. So within the company, that's the first thing that we work on with team members, is really investing in them, not just from a professional standpoint, from a personal standpoint. How do you manage stress? How are you're most productive? What do you do when you get feedback? And these types of questions, you can't just answer them and work them through in a silo. And most of us didn't get great family upbringings where you have a supportive and kind environment where you're able to really address what growth you need to be able to do those things. So we give a petri dish that allows them to understand themselves more within that, which helps the business, because somebody that is grounded and feeling good and feeling confident and like they can accomplish things and they're on top of their work, they're great team members. And I think most companies really overlook this. They look at investing in team members like send them to a conference or send them here, but there's a coaching element of this, that they need feedback and they need encouragement in a way that I just don't think most companies work with. But if I want my team members to do technology, which is essentially creative work, well, they can't just show up and turn their brains off. If they're in stress, if they're in overwhelm, they need to be able to recognize that themselves and learn how to manage it, because how I manage my stress and overwhelm is different than how you do. Yeah. And I can't give you as a BTN team member need to do these things if you're overwhelmed, because it's going to be completely different. They need to learn how to fish and learn how to self-manage, learn how to manage themselves. And the beautiful thing about this is that, and I just got this feedback from a team member of, the work that I'm doing on myself within my job is making my life outside of work better.
That's awesome.
And I can't think of a better thing to hear from feedback from a team. And one of our other team members came up with the concept of, this is the healthiest business I've ever worked for.
That's amazing. And then that translates, especially in this type of thing, right? It translates preventing them being held hostage, because you've got people that care about your business, right? And they can be open and going, hey, I don't know how to do this. Or hey, and all those things that we came to that problem, you now eliminated.
Because they see it as a growth mindset. Oh, this is something I can learn.
Yeah.
But somebody that is feeling not good or overwhelmed or in a place of stress, they don't have the capacity to be able to tackle. They're going to stay in their comfort zones because they're overwhelmed in other areas of their life.
Yeah.
The only way that you can get people to take on that mindset to really tackle these they're not easy problems. And I think that we don't give enough weight to that, is that when you're thinking about how to, that onboarding process that we mentioned before, it was complicated, heady work. And you need somebody that is in the space to be able to tackle that. They can't be defaulting to their comfort zones. They're going to have to push themselves to tackle this problem.
Yeah.
And then you need that person to be doing their self-care and their self-leadership to be able to show up in that way. Otherwise, they're going to fail, and it's not their fault. They just don't know any better.
That's so true. And so, I mean, and that's the key to keeping your technology consistent, keep it performing, is keeping the good hiring, keeping the good people. Someone wants to work with you. Tell me about that process.
So if somebody wants to work with us, I think the first thing that I ask, and we're working on a process to understand where your pain is right now. Where's the most amount of pain? Because in any business, my own included, there's any number of things you can look at right away. We have programs that will help support below $1 million. And my specialty is going into these above $1 million and just looking at your overall business. And I kind of come in on that consultant
The
basis.
technologist, like
Technologist and like a little bit of a higher end on the technologist of really understanding that overall view of like what actually needs to change here, of like how do we get there and what does that overall outcome look like for you. Because if you don't know where you're going, then you're just falling into the illusion of progress and you're just signing up because you think I'd be fun to hang out with, which I am, but I'd rather it be for like a, hey, this is going to allow me to maybe step out of my business a little bit more, empower my team, or we want to grow to this next level. So what does that look like? And how does your technology need to change in order to do that? So we have an assessment that they do initially, and then we jump on a call to make sure it's a good fit, because we want to make sure that the company's ready for this kind of change too.
Yeah, and then and so we get this plan out, and then you can help your team can do it, or you can help hire as well.
Yeah, so we can do it on a consulting basis to help put the right people in place, or you can work with my team. What we do see is that typically what will happen is that my team will put my team in place, and then we'll train up the internal team through that process. So my team will take on the heavy lifting initially. It usually takes about a year or so. And then in that period, it's like we're making the systems better so that the internal, usually it's operators that are typically in a business, that we're training those operators up to be able to manage it. So it's like initially most of the stuff is on us, and like as time goes on, it becomes less and less and less that knowledge and that labor is passed back to the team. Sometimes we do see businesses be like, we really like one of your team members, can we just hire them directly? And we have a program for that as well.
Awesome. And then you're always there to kind of as a check and balance.
And I'm always the one that, so for instance, like, you know, a team member could go in and like really just miss the boat on something of like, if it does not adhere to my principles of dependability, adaptability, and exceptional user experience, I will get in there, I will make it right. Yeah. Because I believe that technology is really the thing that holds back passionate business owners that really have something that's going to help people, but they're held hostage by their technology. But once you get rid of that, it's magic.
That's great. So we'll put a link to your website to sign up in the show notes and down below, and to set up that consultation. And where's the best place to follow you? Where are you spending most of your time? Besides YouTube, right?
YouTube, LinkedIn as well. Would be probably the best places. I post a lot on Instagram, but that's mostly for team member stuff. So if you're a team member,
or food pictures or
food,
travel pictures,
travel, lifestyle
dog.
Stuff. Yeah, my dog Simba is on there quite often as well. Mostly people just want pictures of him, and they're like, if you could do more Simba and less of everything else, that'd be great.
That's great. Well, Melodie, thanks so much for being on the Garlic Marketing Show and tell us how to hire the right tech people to get untrapped. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me, and it's been a great conversation.
It's been awesome.
And next time we'll have pasta with garlic on it, though.
Yes. Next time, I mean, I really should do that. Like, just like eating, like I cook.
Be a cooking show.
That'd be next. Actually, that might. If you all comment enough that you want that, we will do a cooking/marketing show next time.
I would like to volunteer myself for that.
All right. Well, thank you all for taking Melodie and I on your journey, making us part of your story. This has been On Garlic and the Garlic Marketing Show.